There's one thing that I hear very often when I speak to people about their experience of Sikhi, about having lived a life of Sikhi, of Bani, of Kirtan, is that people are often doing all the right practices. They're in the Sangat, they're exposing themselves to the wisdom of the Bani, of the Guru. But one thing is a common theme amongst most people is that people say that still we don't know how to connect to Naam. Naam Simran is something that just feels alien to us. When we do Naam Simran, Sada man nahi tikda, that's the one line I keep hearing from a lot of people, man nahi tikda. My mind doesn't get stable. So today I'd like to talk a little bit about how do we connect? How do we connect to God, to Guru, to Naam Simran? And why is it so difficult for our mind to connect when we're doing Nitnem, Path, when we're listening to Kirtan? How should we quieten the mind? And what does it mean to be connected? What does that actually mean? And what are we connecting to? We hear quite often that God is inside of us. But what does that mean? Is God really there? Is God really inside of us? And if God is inside of us, then where? What are we looking for? So I'd like to really explore some of these ideas with you today. So first, let's start with a question. Why do you come to the gurdwara? Take a moment, have a think. Why do you come to the gurdwara? What is your purpose for doing it? What are you trying to get out of it? Some of you might say that I come to the gurdwara because I want a break from my working life, from my commitments, my family life. Some of us will say that it's a chance to reflect on the Guru's wisdom. It's a chance to come back and remind ourselves. We spend all of our day in the busy working life, that we come to the Guru and we remind ourselves that this is what life is really about. Some people will be coming to the Gurdwara to relax, take us away from our worries. We also get inspired when we come and listen to the Sakhya, stories, Gurbani. So it inspires us to live differently. We may say that it inspires us to be more awakened. Some of us come for the Kirtan, for the Katha, for the Hukamnama. Maybe some young children will be coming just for the Prasad, for the Langar. Some of us come because our friends and relatives come to the Gurdwara and it's become a community center, a social gathering. But one thing that's very common is that when we leave the Gurdwara, we go out to the real world, and that's when all the problems come back in. For a short while, you come into the Gurdwara and it feels like the problems go away. But when you go into the real world, that's when all the stress, the worries, the real concerns of life, they come flooding back. So people are going through this cycle again and again, and often I hear that people say that we've been coming to the Gurdwara for years, but still we don't know what it is that the Guru is talking about. We don't have that experience. So we find it really challenging, very difficult to connect to the sorts of ideas and concepts that the Guru is talking about. Let's think about some of the words that the Guru uses. Guru talks about being achint, worry-free. Guru talks about anand, bliss, sukh, happiness, sahaj, contentment, vismad, euphoria. Look at the wonderful words that Guru uses about the experience of the Gurmukh. But in reality, if we ask ourselves, we say, are we really experiencing these things? And if we're not, then what's going wrong? I always say that if you're learning from a teacher, but you're not actually understanding what the teacher is saying, there's only two things that can be going wrong. Either there's something wrong with the teacher, or there's something wrong with the way we're learning from the teacher. Either the teacher is wrong, or we're not getting what the teacher is really saying. We're not understanding it. So which one is it? So I want to look at something else. If our mind doesn't connect when we come to the gurdwara, if our mind doesn't connect to kirtan, doesn't connect to Naam Simran, then let's have a think about the opposite. What does our mind connect to? Because if we look at that, then we might think and get a bit of an understanding, what is it that works for us? Now, think about when we're watching TV. If you're watching a movie or a serial, some TV dramas, easily 2 hours can go and your mind does not waver. Your focus doesn't go anywhere, right? 2-3 hours can go and you're just fully absorbed, that you have no thoughts of anything else, no worries about anything else. In fact, if you're watching something really gripping, you think you're in that movie, you think you're part of that. Something is happening to the main character. If they're in some stress, you feel that stress. That's how connected we are. We can also connect our minds when we listen to music, to songs. We can listen to some nice music and then our mind is just absorbed in that. Sometimes people say that they're in love with reading. Some people say, I'm reading a book and I just can't put it down. I'm so engrossed in that book that I'll just finish the whole book, but I don't want to put it down. So let's try and understand, why does it work like that? Why does our mind connect to things? And what else does our mind connect to? So far we've talked about things like entertainment. Now I want you to think about, imagine you go out into the wilderness, into the open, great outdoors, into the countryside, and it's nighttime and you look up and it's a beautiful starry night. Just picture that for a moment. And you look up there, just for a moment, think what happens to your mind. You're looking up at this beautiful starry night. What happens to your mind? It becomes shanti, doesn't it? It goes quiet. And you just look and you have nothing to say. Your mind has nothing to say. The same happens if you go to like some beautiful natural waterfalls, or you're by a beautiful lake, a stream, a river. If you're standing on top of a hill and you've got an amazing view, maybe you go into the Grand Canyon, you can stand and just look at something and your mind just goes quiet. So what we can see is that there are things that can connect our mind. There are things where our mind gets totally absorbed into it. So we have to understand, how does this work? Why does mind connect to some things and not to other things? So the mind, if we look at all of these things, what is the mind looking for? It's always looking for some sort of joy. It's always looking for some way to be distracted. We can say that the mind is looking to be entertained. But what we do is we just allow the mind to look in all directions. We allow the mind to look in the different directions. But when we start coming to the gurdwara, when maybe somebody is doing katha, maybe when we sit and we're at home and we start doing part, give it 5 minutes and we start yawning, we start feeling sleepy. So I want you to cast your mind back to when you were at school or college or university, and you're listening to a very boring lecture by some teacher or college professor. What happens? What do? First thing you do when you go into the classroom, you decide, I'm going to sit right at the back. I don't want to sit at the front. I don't want to expose myself to this. And maybe if I sit right at the back, I can even fall asleep. And then the teacher at the front won't notice anything. So what we're doing is we're saying that I have no interest in what is being spoken about here. And so your mind starts yawning and you start feeling very tired. And this is how our mind behaves with Gurbani. This is not for us to blame the mind. Let's put blame to one side. Let's just try and understand how the mind works and why it works like this. When we start listening to Gurbani, when we start listening to Katha, or even when we're doing part, our mind behaves in the same way like we're listening to a really boring lecture. So we have to understand this a little bit more. Why? What's going on? Why is it that some things are pleasing to the mind and some things are really boring the mind? So in order to do this, in order to understand this, we have to understand what is it that we're dealing with. What is this mind? What are we dealing with? What is the mind? Do we know? What is our mind? Is it just a collection of thoughts? What is it? One way to understand, or an example to use to illustrate what we're trying to deal with here, is let's imagine that the mind is like darkness. Let's imagine the mind is like a dark room. Let's imagine that Naam and Simran and Dhyan is like a bright light. Now, can darkness understand light? If the mind is darkness, darkness can't understand light. They're two opposite things. They can either be darkness or they can be light, but one can't understand the other because one can't know the other. If you are dark, you can't know what light is. They're just two opposite things. So we can say that the mind is like darkness and Naam and Simran is like light. And that means that the mind cannot understand what Naam is. Naam is not a concept that your mind can understand and say, I know what Naam is, that's fine. You can either be in the mind, in the darkness, or you can be in Naam, in the light. You can only experience the two. Now imagine you've never seen darkness or you've never seen light. If I try and explain it to you, there's just no words that I can say to explain what darkness is. And in the same way, if you've only known darkness and you've never known light, there's no words that I can say to explain this is what light is. But as soon as I show you this is what darkness is, this is what light is, you'll understand. You have to see it, you have to experience it. Mind is like darkness and it can't understand Naam. So what we do is we get these lectures and we get this katha and we get Gurbani and it's talking to the mind. And how can we talk about a subject like light to a mind that is like darkness? It can't work. So the solution means that we're not trying to educate the mind on what Naam is. That's not what we're trying to do. And the mind is so dark and the mind is so deep and black that it almost doesn't want to know what the opposite is. It's happy with its own darkness. It doesn't want to know anything else. It's like the student at the back of the room that doesn't want to learn. So what does the mind do? It just keeps itself occupied. It keeps itself entertained. And music and movies and books and cinema and these sort of things, these are things that keep the mind occupied. So the mind is constantly trying to satisfy itself. But let's ask this question, why does the mind want to keep itself busy? Why does it want to be occupied? Why is your mind always going in so many different directions? The reality is that the mind is afraid of being alone. Because being alone, the mind equates to being lonely. And the mind is afraid of this. But let me tell you something. Being alone is a very important starting point to understanding Naam Simran. Being alone is an important starting point. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. When you are alone, and by alone, I don't mean that you don't have any friends with you. I mean you have nothing to distract your mind. Being in that state of aloneness, where your mind has nowhere else to go, the mind doesn't want you to do that because the mind is afraid. The mind starts becoming really uncomfortable. Think about this scenario. Imagine you're sitting in a room where all the lights are turned off, but you're not sleepy. You're just sitting there. How long will you sit comfortably there? In a dark room, 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours? How long can you sit in a dark room with nothing to entertain your mind? You can't, right? Very quickly your mind will start becoming uncomfortable. So we can see that there is an inbuilt fear in the mind. It's afraid of something. It's afraid of being alone. Now let's explore this even deeper. Why is the mind afraid of being alone? Because the mind is afraid of two things that can happen. If there's nothing to occupy the mind, there's no entertainment, no books, no music, no nice things, no ninda chugli, nothing, no gossip. What is the mind afraid of? It's afraid of one of two things that can happen. Most of us will think that the dimag, the mind, will just go crazy, that insanity will come in, that so much alone time will just make the mind go crazy. Or the other thing that it's worried about is that it will go into some sort of deep void, into some dark hole. Why can't you sit quietly in a closed mind, closed eyes position for a very long time? What happens? Fear comes inside you, right? And you think there's some deep dark hole in here that I don't want to go into. It feels scary. We already have this fear inside of us. Nobody's ever seen this deep dark hole. But if you sit with your eyes closed, you think there's something scary in there. I don't want to go too deep. Either way, either your mind will think that it will go insane, or it will go into some deep dark hole. Either way, the mind is afraid that the mind itself will get destroyed. Either you'll go crazy or you'll go into some dark hole. But either way, the mind is afraid that the mind is going to get destroyed. And this is the number one thing that the mind does not want. Our minds likes itself. It doesn't want to get destroyed. It doesn't want to be made empty. And this is what the mind is currently protecting itself from. That's why it keeps looking for entertainment. It says, don't look at me. The mind is saying to you, don't look at the mind itself, just look at something shiny, look at this, look at that. And it's always trying to distract you because it doesn't want you to look at the mind itself. The mind is scared. But this is what we mean by being alone, and starting to look at the mind is a very important first step. You have to be willing to go down this path. In fact, you have to be willing to let the mind go. We have to be willing to let go of our mind. This is what it means when the Guru is constantly saying, give me your head. Give me what is the most valuable thing in your head, give it to me. Joto prem khilan ka chao, sir tar tali gali meri aao. Whoever wants to walk on this path of love, lovingly give your head. Itmarak pair tari jai. If you want to walk on this path, sir di jai, kaan na ki jai. Don't even for an instant hesitate to give me your mind, give me your head. Give me that which is the most important thing inside your head. The Guru is asking for your head. Guru Nanak Dev Ji asked for your head, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji physically asked for your head. But both of them is saying, can you give this thing up? Are you willing to give it up? So, when we don't know these things, when we don't know what we're trying to do with meditation, with Simran, then we sit in the darkness of our mind and we just say, Naam Simran, we keep going. So we're not trying to actually deal with the mind, we're just using the mind to say a word. And that's why Naam Simran feels like it doesn't work. Imagine you're sitting in a dark room and you keep saying light bulb, light bulb, light bulb, candle, candle, candle. That's not going to make a light bulb appear. That's not going to make a light just come on. And this is what we do with Naam Simran. We sit there. We don't know that the mind is the problem, but keeping our mind, we just keep saying Waheguru, 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 but we don't know what we're doing. So after about 5 minutes, what happens? We get bored. We say, okay, this is not really doing anything for me. You know what your mind is saying to you? This isn't entertaining enough. Go find something else to entertain you. And then even if you don't go anywhere, within your mind will start coming up with some nice images. You start doing Waheguru with your mouth, but your mind is like planning a holiday, it's booking a holiday, or it's starting to think about work, or it's thinking about, oh, that person said that to me, and I must remember to do that. This is what your mind is doing. If you can't get something physically to entertain yourself, the mind will make up stuff to entertain itself. This is how it works. We have to know that the mind and that voice inside of our head that's constantly talking, that is the problem. That's what we're trying to get rid of. So first we have to know what is the problem. Otherwise we're trying to do something without actually understanding what we're trying to do. So what is this problem? What is this darkness? What is the ultimate issue with the mind? The darkness is I am. You know this I am? That is your biggest darkness. This idea that I am this body, this person sitting here right now looking, listening, you've called it me. That is our biggest problem. Me. I am. Main hega. I exist. That is the thing that we're trying to break. If you don't know that that is the thing that you're trying to break, then what you do is you keep that I am, but then you're just saying, I am meditating. I am calling God. Waheguru, Waheguru, Waheguru. So what do we say when we're doing Naam Simran is we're saying, God, come to me. That's what we're doing when we're meditating, right? We sit there, we say Waheguru lots of times. What we're really saying is, God, I'm here, but you're not here. Can you please come? I'm calling you. Like we're inviting God. Yeah? We're saying, God, come to me. I'm waiting for you. I'm ready. I'm all dressed, waiting for my guest to arrive. But the guest will never come like this. God will never come while you're there. And this is what we haven't understood about Naam Simran. Naam Simran isn't me trying to call God. So let's try and understand this a little bit more. What do we need to do then with the mind? What should we be doing with the mind? The mind has to be molded. Right now, our mind is just all over the place. If you sit down for 5 minutes with nothing to entertain your mind, you watch what happens. Close your eyes, you sit there for a few minutes, and you think, I'm going to do Naam Simran. I'm going to meditate today. Within 1 or 2 minutes, you think, oh, my stomach is rumbling. Or maybe I should make myself a sandwich. I like a jam sandwich. I'm going to make myself a jam sandwich. The last time I made a jam sandwich, my cousin was here. Oh, my cousin, he owes me that money. The last time we went on holiday together, I paid for his drinks and he didn't do this. I really must book another holiday. And when I book a holiday, I must make sure I do this, this, and this. The last time I went on holiday, I forgot my passport at home. Within about 30 seconds, you started with jam sandwich. With about 30 seconds, you're on holiday somewhere. How does that happen? Because this voice in our head, we allow it to just go. One way to think about thoughts is imagine you're standing on a train station and there's lots of trains just moving past. You're standing on the platform, right? And there's lots of trains coming and going. Naam Simran is to stay on the platform while all the thoughts are moving. You stay present. You stay in that one place. But we don't work like that. What we do is we get on the train station, we stay on the platform. As soon as the first thought comes, we jump on that thought. And then within about 5 seconds, that thought has gone 1,000,000 miles away. And then when we're bored of that, we jump onto the next train that goes in a new direction. Within a few seconds, we're so far away from the platform, we don't know where we started or how we ended up where we are. That's what the mind is always doing. So the first thing to understand is the mind needs to be tamed. We have to control the mind. You know, like when you get a pet, initially the pet is a little bit wild, but you train it. You have things again and again and again, so the pet learns, now the master is talking, now the master means business. I have to sit quietly. We have to control our mind. But at the moment, the mind is our master. So the mind says jump and you start jumping. We have to control the mind. We have to be the master of our mind. So how do we control the mind? How do we mold this mind? How do we shape it? Guruji talks about mat vich ratan jawahar manik je ik gur ki sikh suni. If we control it, we will see not just noise and dirt in the mind, we'll start seeing diamonds and rubies and jewels. That doesn't mean that you actually start seeing these things. That there is a pleasure that comes from being in the mind rather than the worries that are constantly in the mind. But how? Je ek gur ki sikh suni. If we listen to what the Guru is trying to tell us. So that means when you come to the Gurdwara, listening to the Kirtan isn't enough. You have to understand, what is the Shabad telling me? Listening to the Hukamnama isn't enough. We have to understand, what is the Guru telling me? Listening to the Katha isn't enough. We have to understand, what is the Guru saying through this Katha? How do I do it? What shall I actually do? So, what is the Guru's lesson? The Guru's lesson is Man tu jot saroop hai apna mool pachan. Oh my mind, you were darkness, but behind that darkness you are divine light. See the light within you. Man harji tere naal hai. This God that you're looking for, oh my mind, it's right here. Gurmati Rangaman. But we need the Guru's mat. We need the wisdom of the Guru in order to celebrate in this love of feeling this within ourselves. But look what an important concept this is. Man harji tere naal hai. When you're doing Naam Simran, how do you do Naam Simran? I'm sitting here, God is somewhere far away, and then you say, Waheguru, Waheguru, and you're calling God. Yeah? You know who else you call like that? You call a pet like that. Doggy, doggy. This is not calling a doggy. This is what we've done. We've reduced Waheguru to just calling someone. Come on, come on, come on, quickly, hurry up, I haven't got time. But we don't understand that which you are calling isn't far away. Dur nahi mero prabh pyara. That beloved God is not far away. Man harji tere naal hai. Oh my mind, that God is already with you. So now how are you going to do Naam Simran? How are you going to do Naam Simran when you close your eyes and the thing that you're calling is supposedly already there? This is what we have to understand, how to do Naam Simran really. Because we do Naam Simran in the wrong way. We do Naam Simran thinking God is far away. If you think God is far away, God will remain far away. You have to start by knowing that God is already there. We just have to find it. Something is in the way. This is what we have to understand. What is in the way? How do we find this God? Man mandar tan ves kalandar kathi tiratnawa. My mind is a temple and my body is a simple cloth. Deep within myself, I have to bathe in this tirat. I have to go and have a pilgrimage within my own mind. Ek shabad mere pran basat hai bahud janam na awa. This shabad is the key thing here. This Naam is the key thing, and it is right within you, within my pran, within my own being, within my own life. So what is the barrier? What is stopping us? The mind is this fog. Think of the mind like a fog. In a deep, dense fog, you can't even see what's directly in front of you. Your mind is a fog and we can't see what is already inside of us. Man harji tere naal hai. It's already there, but you can't see it. So how do you see it? Man tu jot swaroop hai, apna mool pachan. We have to start recognizing. The first thing we have to do, we have to realize when we sit in Naam Simran that I am already connected. The thing that I'm trying to find is already here, it's not somewhere far away. So the very direction that you go into your Naam Simran is a different direction. It's not the direction that says, God, you're far away. The direction is already, God, I know you're already here. Let me try and find you. But how is this God inside of us? Surely by now, we've lived for so many years, surely by now if this God was inside of us, we would have seen it at least once. We would have found it. So, this Simran that we're doing, this Naam Simran, Path, Bani, Kirtan, all this that we're doing it just with our tongue. We're just doing it on the surface level, very superficial level. We need to have some hints and tips. How do we go further? How do we go deeper? What is missing? So I'd like to share with you some stages that we should go through when we're doing Naam Simran. The very first thing, the very first stage, the very first advice that I'd like to share with you is to focus on the sound of the Shabad. So the first stage is, when you start Naam Simran, focus on the sound. Some people think that when I'm closing my eyes and starting to do Naam Simran, I should do some sort of image of the Guru in my head. A lot of people think that I have to have a picture of Guru Nanak in my head. Like that's the murat that I have to focus on. We even see Shabads that talk about Gur ki murat, the murat of the Guru, man mein dhyan, like do focus on the Guru's murat. And we don't know what the form of the Guru is, so we think the form of the Guru is a picture of the Guru. But this is not what Gurmat teaches us. Gurmat does not teach us to have a picture of the Guru in our mind. In fact, this kind of meditation existed long before Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Sikhi. That focus on a picture, that's not Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Sikhi. Actually, that's old methods of doing meditation. Guru Nanak came with a new method. And Guru Nanak's method was tun. Listen to the tun, the sound. We hear about Shabad Guru. Shabad is the Guru, sound is the form. Surat Tun Chela, and my mind and my awareness is a servant to its sound. So this is the first thing we have to understand. When we're doing Naam Simran, we start with a mantra, and that mantra, when we're reciting it out loud, listen to the sound of it. So when you're sitting and doing your Naam Simran, and you're saying Waheguru, Waheguru, what you're doing is it's coming from your tongue, but your mind is somewhere else. It's saying, where are you, where are you, where are you? It's looking. Your mind is going that way, that way, that way. So what you have to do is you have to get your mind to listen to the sound, so that when you're saying, Waheguru, the awareness is listening to the sound itself. Feel the Shabad all over your body. Feel the vibration of that sound actually as the only thing that exists. At that moment, just listen to the sound of the Shabad. That's how we can start using mantra. You know the word mantra, what does it mean? It's broken up of two things, man, antar. Mantra helps you to go within the mind. Antar means to go inside, man means the mind. Mantra means to go within the mind. So we have to merge some things when we're doing that. So what we do is we do Naam Simran with our tongue, but our mind is somewhere else. So first we have to join those things. You know what I like to say? We have an outer voice and we have an inner voice. The inner voice is always saying something else. The outer voice can be saying something else. So you have to merge those two. So this is the first stage of when we start doing Naam Simran. First merge the sound coming out of your mouth with the inner voice. If your outer voice is saying a mantra, your inner voice should also be saying that mantra. Not that the inner voice is saying, oh, I'm getting bored, I'm getting hungry. If you notice your inner voice saying something else, make your inner voice and your outer voice say the same thing at the same time. So if you're saying tu hi, Waheguru, Waheguru, whatever the mantra is, use that inner voice to also say that mantra. This is the first stage. So this is the early step, and it becomes easy to understand this. We can understand that mind should focus on this. But where's God? So far we've only talked about mind and sound focusing and merging together. Where does God fit into this? So what we do when we start doing our mantra, Waheguru, Waheguru, and let's say that our mind is also focused. Let's say for a moment that we're doing that, and that is constantly going on. You know what will happen? Within a couple of minutes, or maybe even a couple of seconds, your mind will say, is it working? Has it worked? It's not working. I still can't find God. And then give it a few more minutes, then the mind will say, oh, chhad pare. It's not worth it. It's not entertaining enough. So that's why I'm saying that's on the first step. You have to just merge the sounds together. Let's go even deeper. The second stage is we have to stop externalizing God. So what we do, we sit and we do our Naam Simran, Waheguru, 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 but still you'll notice that there's an expectation that there's some God that still needs to come. He hasn't come yet. Like, 5 minutes ho gaye, it's been 5 minutes. Come on, where is this God? Where's the God person? So the second stage, the second advice that I can give you is to turn your dhyan inwards. Don't look for anything outside. Don't search for an outside God, search for an inside God. So that you're doing your Naam Simran, but your dhyan should not go outwards. The mind is always looking outwards. It's always trying to find something outside. Bring that within yourself. So most people do Naam Simran like God is somewhere far away. It's like God is outside. And this is exactly what Gurbani is telling us not to do. Yeah, man harji tere naal hai. It's already inside. But we only know how to look outwards. That's what the mind is always doing. So the second advice that I can give is try and internalize that. Change that from an outside to an inside. You know, imagine the mind like a torch. Is always looking for something, always looking out there. Is it there? Is it there? Looking somewhere far away. Turn that torch within yourself and just look, okay, I'm not going to look for God outside. Let me just look for whatever is here. Forget God for a moment. It's too far away, too big a thing. Just look within yourself. What is here? What's here right now? So Guru Arjan Dev Ji says, Khojat nij kar paya. By searching and searching, I found it within my own home. Nij kar means very closely deep within my own home. And I found it. Guru Arjan Dev Ji tells us. So the second advice is very important. Don't for a second think that the God that you're calling is far away. If you think it's far away, you've lost it. You know, like when we were children, we used to play this game, Monopoly, and you go to all of these different stages, and then you hit on the wrong step and they say, right, you got to start all the way from square one again, back to the start. Yeah? You always used to dread that card that says, oh, I got to go back to the start. As soon as you realize that you've externalized God and God is somewhere far away, and in your Naam Simran you're looking for an outside God, start again. Remind yourself, no, the God is not far away, it's inside. I don't know what God is yet, but I know that I'm supposed to be looking for it inside. Now, let's go even deeper into Naam Simran. First stage, combine the outer voice and the inner voice. Second stage, don't externalize God. The third stage, the third advice that I can help and share with you is let go of your expectation of God. Our biggest barrier is that when we're doing Naam Simran, there is an expectation. Have you ever noticed this? You're sitting and you're doing Naam Simran, and what you're really waiting for is some hallelujah moment. In the UK, we used to have the National Lottery, and it was a really big thing. And when it first started, there used to be these adverts. There's somebody sitting at home drinking coffee, somebody's at the gym running on the treadmill, somebody's doing something else, they're doing their homework or whatever. And then a big hand will come from the sky and say, it's you. Like, your number has come today. And that's how they used to sell us, that anybody can win the lottery. When we're doing Naam Simran, that's what we're doing. We're all sitting there, and Waheguru, Waheguru, and some big lightning, the clouds are going to open, and some big hand of God is going to come and say, come, my child, I've been waiting for you. That's what we're waiting for. Because our God is still sitting in the cloud somewhere, isn't he? That's what we're waiting for. You're sitting in Waheguru, Waheguru, and you're saying, God, are you coming or not? I've been doing this for many years now. When's my turn coming? People who play the lottery, they keep playing for many years. At some point they stop. Number ta aaya nahi. My number never came, so I stopped doing it. And if you keep doing Naam Simran, expecting Mr. God from outside to come to you, trust me, that God is not coming. Because he's not there. We might have spent 20, 30 years calling a God that wasn't actually there. So of course you haven't found it. It doesn't matter how much pyar you do it with, it doesn't matter how lovingly and how dedicated you are doing it. If you're doing something, calling a God that's not outside, then how will it come to you? It's not there. So your expectation of God is a very big thing. And we have an expectation that God is supposed to come. At some point, our number is going to come. At some point, God is going to listen to our prayer. We accept that there are 7 billion people on the planet. Most of them not doing Naam Simran, but there's a lot of people doing some sort of meditation. And we think every day God is looking through his list and say, oh, who am I going to pick today? Okay, I'm pick that one, and I'm going to pick that one. And we think somewhere down the list, our little name is there, and maybe one day God will come and say, oh, I didn't know you were waiting for me. Oh, chalo, aaja fir, come on then. That's how we think God is. This is not what the Guru is saying. The Guru is not talking about this kind of God. So we've got this very warped idea of what this God is. And then we're not listening to the Guru is saying. But the Guru is saying, you will get it, mat vich ratan jawahar manak. So that means that the diamonds and jewels and rubies are only inside you. Je ik gur ki sikh suni. Just listen once to what the Guru is actually saying. Guru is saying it's inside you, and you've spent 20 years looking for God outside you. Where does this mat come from? Who are you actually listening to? Definitely not listening to the Guru. Guru has a very beautiful shabad that talks to this wandering mind looking somewhere else. Mere man pardesi ve pyare aao kare. Look how lovingly the Guru is calling the mind. Hey, mere man, mere pyare man, my beloved mind, come back home. Pardesi is a loved one, a family member who's gone to another country far away, and you don't know when they're coming back. Think about the old days when somebody would leave the village and they would go to another country far away, and maybe once every 6 months you might get a chitti, a letter from them. That's a pardesi, that you're longing for them so far. Guru is saying to my mind, oh my mind, bahut dur chala gaya tu. You've gone too far, aao kare, come back. Come back home. Har guru milavo mere pyare, kar vasai hare. Come and meet this Hari, this Guru. Come, I'll show you. Vasai hare, it's inside, it's here already. Because the mind went somewhere far, said, Mom, Dad, bye, I'm looking for God. And your mind goes. And the parents are sitting there at home. The Guru is our parent, yeah? Gurdev Mata, Gurdev Pita. The Guru is the parent, and the Guru is talking to the child, the mind, saying, come back. That thing that you were looking for, that thing you're not going to find out there, is already here. So we have to know that we have an expectation of some outside God, and the God is already inside. So our expectation is that when we close our eyes, we're doing Waheguru, Waheguru, Waheguru. Our mind is saying, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, I haven't got all day. Your expectation is that the thing that you're looking for is somewhere else. So you have to drop that expectation, because the Guru says that you're looking for something that's already there. Imagine you're going into a house and you're saying, so where's the light? Where's the light? Where's the light? The lights are all on, but you're looking for something. Where's the light? Where's the light? Where's the light? But if somebody just stopped you and said, stop, it's already on. You have to stop what you're looking for, and then you realize, oh, it's already on. The God that you're looking for is already switched on inside you. So when you're doing your meditation, drop your expectation that something external is going to come. Some big hallelujah moment is going to happen. The clouds are going to open and the God is going to come. Drop all of that. So what that means is you sit here knowing this is God. God is already here. We just have to pachan. Man tu jot saroop hai. You are the light of God. Mind, you are the light of God. So the mind puts its backpack on and says, I'm going by and I'm going to go looking. The thing that it is looking for is already it. This is the kind of thing that Guru is talking about. And yet we haven't been exploring these ideas. Nobody's telling us that this is the direction that we're meant to be going. You know what that means? The one doing the Naam Simran is already God. And this is where we get too uncomfortable with the idea. So let me clarify, with whatever little understanding Guru has blessed me with, let me make a statement that will make it very clear. You are God. And you say, no, I'm not. How can I be God? I know what my mind is. I know all the dirt that's in my mind. I'm not God. This guy's mistaken. At this point, you'll say, okay, chalo, that's enough. But this is what we haven't understood. Guru is saying it's already there. Man tu jot sarup hai, apna mool pachan. Mool pachane, ta shau jane. When you know the root of what you really are, the God that you will be, the God that you've been looking for, you'll find it. Mool pachane. When you recognize what you really are, ta shau jane. The king that you've been looking for, you'll know that it's already there. So when you're doing your Naam Simran, the third stage is that you have to stop looking for God. You have to start realizing that it's already there. But we don't want to do that, do we? We don't want to let go of the one looking for God. We quite like ourselves. The mind will say, no, I'm quite happy looking for God. Let me carry on looking for God. We've convinced ourselves that our mind is our best friend, that the voice inside of our head is our best friend. You know, sometimes when you wake up in the morning and you think, I really should do Amritullah. I know it's important. And the mind says, no, go back to sleep. You know that voice that says, no, it's all right, you don't need to do it. Go back to sleep. You have to understand that that voice is the problem. That voice is the thing that we're trying to defeat with our Amritullah. The voice inside of our head, that is the problem. The one that says, shh, don't worry, go back to sleep. That's the problem. This is the thing that we're dealing with. It's so close. The problem is so close. It's right there with us. So we need to understand that the one looking for God is the problem. So let's go back to our Naam Simran. We're sitting there and we're saying, Waheguru, come to me. Waheguru, come to me. Waheguru, come to me. That's what we're doing, right? When we're saying Waheguru, Waheguru, we're saying, come on God, come on God, come on God. So another way to understand this, imagine in your mind there is only one chair. You're sitting on that chair and you want God to come and sit on that chair. Is it possible? One chair, can they sit on there? Not possible. Either you're sitting on the chair or you have to get up and move out the way and God will come and sit on that chair. So if you're sitting there saying, come on God, come to me, come to me, come to me, God will never come. You have to move out of the way, then God will come. And to this, Guru has given an exact shabad that explains this idea that says, Jab hum hote, tab tu nahi. As long as I was there, then God was not there. Ab tu hi, main nahi. As long as you exist, God isn't coming. Let's make that very clear. This is what the Guru is actually talking about. In your Naam Simran, we don't want to deal with the me. We think, I'm okay. I'm just trying to call Mr. God. And as long as you're sitting there waiting for God, God can't come because you're sitting there. Do you see what the problem is now? You are the reason God can't come in because there's only room for one. This is a chair with only one seat. Either you're sitting on it or you have to move out the way and then God will sit there. Jab hum hote, tab tu nahi. As long as I was there, you weren't there. So when you're sitting in your Naam Simran, firstly, stop expecting some outside God. That was the third step. The fourth and most important one, the final stage of Naam Simran is you have to let go of the one doing the Naam Simran. You cannot sit in Naam Simran and say, come on God, come to me, come to me, come to me. God can't come to you. You have to move out the way and then God will reveal that it was already there. You have to move out of the way. And this is where Naam helps us. What we do is little old me is trying to call big old God. Little old me is trying to call the whole of God to come to me. How is that possible? It's like a single drop of water trying to get the whole ocean to fit inside that drop of water. Can it happen? Can one drop of water have the whole ocean fit inside that one drop? No. So what does the drop of water have to do in order to connect with the ocean? The water has to dissolve into the ocean. If you want to connect with Paramatma, you have to go to God. God can't come to you. You can't sit there and say, come on God, come on God, come on God. You have to say, this is God. God is already here. There isn't even a me left to look for God. Because as long as there's a me, God can't come. Jab hum hote, tab tu nahi. This is a science. This is a practicality. If you're there in your meditation, God will not come. You have to dissolve into the ocean. Naam means na main, not me. Naam means na main. Main ta hai nahi ithe. There is no me. There's no me even to look for God. So when we're doing our meditation, when we start saying Waheguru, Waheguru, Tu hi, Tu hi, Tu hi, what we're saying is this is already you. There is no me. Me is not even here. Kabir ji says, Tu tu karta, tu hua. Doing tu hi, tu hi, tu hi, I dissolved all of myself that I became you. Tu tu karta, tu hua, mujh mein raha na hu. Nothing was left of me. These are actual clues how to do meditation. This is what the Gurus are showing. So we're sitting in Naam Simran, and this is why we can't connect to Naam Simran. We don't know how to connect to Naam Simran because we don't know what direction we're supposed to be going. When we're sitting in Naam Simran, we're just thinking, I'll stay here, and somehow if I keep saying God's name, God will come. But as long as you're sitting there, God won't come. You have to say Naam, and this is why the first step is to listen to the sound, dissolve into the sound, dissolve into the word, so that when you're saying Tu Hi, what you're really saying is there is only you here. There is only you here. There isn't a me here to look for you. Tu karta, tu hua, mujh mein raha na hu. By doing tu hi, I became you, nothing was left of me. Jab apa par ka mit gaya, jat dekha tat tu. When the barrier between me and God dissolved, then everywhere that I see, there is only God. There's no me left. So there is a barrier right now, there is a fog. There is a fog between me and God. There is a barrier between me and God, and the barrier is me. Me is the barrier. Main. Ho main is the barrier. I am. I am looking for God. I am looking for God. That's what we say, isn't it? But I am can never find God. Remove I am, and then God is left. And Naam Simran is very, very scientific, very practical. We just need to know the steps. When we know the steps, then we can start to understand how do we go into it. The one looking for God has to disappear so that only God is left. Guru Sahib says, Nirkhat jab jaye pawa. After looking and looking, he was finally found. Tab le nirkhe nirkh milawa. That the one looking merged into the one that it was looking for. The one looking for God merged into the one it was looking for. You have to merge into God. So how do we do this? How do we dissolve ourselves? We have to understand this me. We have to know what me is. So you have to dissolve this me. Anything that starts with I am, any statement that starts with me, I am, that is the problem. If you say, I am a Sikh, that is a problem. If you say, I am better than you, that is a problem. If you say, I am a puppy, that is a problem. As long as I am, you can keep looking for God because you will not find it. Jab hum hote, tab tu nahi. As long as I am there, God will not be there. As long as you exist, God is not coming. You might as well stop your Naam Simran if you think that you want God to come to you. Please stop. Stop wasting your time. Go entertain yourself with some TV or something. It's a lot easier. If you really want to find God, you have to lose the one looking for God. And it's possible. The Gurus aren't giving us something that's so difficult that we say, oh, that sounds too much, forget it. The Sikhi stuff is too difficult. It's possible, it's doable, but we have to follow the actual things that the Guru is saying. This is why Khoj of Gurbani is so important. This is why actually reading Guruji is so important, spending a bit of time, not just matha taking, not just listening to the Guru, having a bit of prasad, a bit of langar, come back next Sunday. What kind of Sikhi is that? That's the Sunday Sikhs. We don't want to be Sunday Sikhs. 24 hours, art peher. We're 24-hour students. We're not students that just turn up once a week to the lesson, sit at the back of the class, fall asleep, start yawning. That's not the kind of students the Guru wants. The Guru wants a student that says, I bow down and I give my head to you. Now tell me whatever you want to tell me. I'm willing to learn. So this is almost like a secret that nobody's ever told us. This is a very important lesson. How to do Naam Simran, how to connect to Naam Simran. So let me just quickly recap the 4 stages and then we'll summarize. The first step was focus on the sound. Don't let your inner voice say something else and your outer voice say something else. Focus on the sound. The second step is don't look for something external. Internalize, bring it within yourself. The third step was to lose your expectation that I am going to find God. And the fourth step is to dissolve yourself. When you let go of yourself, then all that will be left is God itself. Kabir, har jan aisa chahiye jaisa har hi hoye. I want that kind of Gursikh who is like God itself. So many times Bani talks about Brahm Gyani Parmeshwar Aap. They're the same thing. Har jan doye ek hai. They're the same thing. But only the few virle Sants Mahapurush are the ones who actually experience that. They're the ones who actually get to that stage where they realize, I'm not there. Most of us, we're sitting there in meditation and we're still saying, I'm looking for God, I'm looking for God. So we have to become God. We can't keep looking for God.